everyone, I'm Kevin, otherwise known as 4MBX257, here to bring you another 1980s G.I. Joe toy review. And in fact, one of the figures and characters that just barely missed my top 10 favorite G.I. Joes, the G.I. Joe Tracker, the 1984 Spirit, and his animal companion, Freedom the Eagle. Now, Spirit makes his first appearance in the old Marvel comic run in issue 31, but the Eagle makes its first appearance in the issue after it, issue 32, where Spirit actually just calls it Brother Eagle, which I think is more or less a title rather than a name. The name Spirit and Freedom, of course, refer to the rugged spirit of America and the freedom that America represents. So he is kind of a representation of not only just Native Americans, but the American spirit in general. One interesting thing about him being a Native American is he's fairly stereotypical, you know, with the long hair and the headband, and he has this kind of a waist thing. However, on the back of the card, and unfortunately I only have the Canadian version of the card, so the file card is sort of abridged, it mentions that he comes from a very poor background. He isn't the first Native American, however, in the G.I. Joe line. In 1983, there was Airborne, who comes from oil-rich Native Americans. Sort of a flip side of this, his character. And I'm wondering whether it was actually, his character was actually kind of made poor just so that there would be that sort of class war type of thing between the two Native Americans. But I can see that also the practicality that they come from two different Native American heritages, so that really shouldn't matter anyway. And in fact, in the cartoon, they never work together. And in the comic book, Spirit makes his first appearance with Airborne, and they seem to be getting along quite fine. Now, I mentioned that this is the Canadian version of the card, and as you can see, the code name is Spirit, as is the US version. However, this isn't the very first version that was released in Canada. This is. Now, this might be a little hard to see within the star case, but his code name is Shaman. And it was changed very rapidly from this to this, because these were both released in basically the same year. And I believe that originally they wanted to use the codename Shaman because, in fact, Shaman makes a bit more sense, as he is revealed to be a sort of a counselor or a wise man to the G.I. Joes, and that's basically what a shaman is. I guess they didn't quite they didn't quite explain the name Spirit quite as well on the US file card, in my opinion. One thing you might notice right away with the Spirit figure is his skin tone is closer to that of Caucasian. And on the card art, he's rather tan. In the comic books, he's shown as tan. And even in his first cartoon appearance, which was The Revenge of Cobra, 5-part miniseries, in the third part, he's shown as, well, very tan. So I'm not quite sure why they went with the decision to make the skin tone plastic so light. As a matter of fact, the previous Native American G.I. Joe, Airborne, was in fact tan plastic. So I'm not quite sure if it was a manufacturing decision or what. Now, Spirit is your typical Native American warrior, but updated for the 20th century. He still has things like fur boots and like fringe on the side of his pants and like these, I don't know, bear teeth and feather necklace. But he also has some really cool updates. Basically like his colors, in fact. They are very military colors. One thing is his accessory. He has a web belt, which isn't mentioned on the card art list, but It's a web belt, but it's also his loincloth as well. It just buckles in from the side here. He has an auto arrow launcher, which is basically a rifle, but with a very large magazine with tiny little arrows sculpted in. Again, very military looking. And to complement this, he has an arrow cassette pack with, again, 2 magazines which are molded right on there. So he has extra ammo. In the cartoon, this just acted like a regular laser rifle. So I'm not quite sure whether these were explosive tips or what. The figure has, unfortunately, a few problems. One of them is, well, he has like gold bracelets on his wrist, and as you know, Hasbro just doesn't do metallic paint very well, and these things really come off fairly easily. As a matter of fact, this one comes off fairly easily because this very wide bracelet is almost perfect for putting Freedom, his eagle, on. And unfortunately, because of the clipped feet on Freedom, it really scrapes off the gold plastic. Now, Freedom is a very, very well sculpted bald eagle with some very appropriate paint jobs. It's very basic, so there's no yellow for the beak or anything. And this clip, which basically forms his feet, is a separate piece, which unfortunately just cracks off sometimes. So if you're looking for, a figure on the aftermarket, you have to be sure that the Freedom actually still has the feet on there. The symbol on the side here, which is probably like a unit designator rather than a rank or anything like that, but it's like a little tomahawk within a circle. And this is what most of the figures would look like. However, very early on the run, that same symbol was actually very large. So large, in fact, that it actually covers a bit of the cuff and maybe a little bit of the bolt on the shoulder. Unfortunately, the other problem with the figure is his light blue plastic chest usually sort of goes yellow. Well, that's all the time I have right now. Please check out my Facebook page for more information and behind-the-scenes photos for these reviews. Thank you for watching this video, and stay tuned for next time to see another 1980s G.I. Joe toy review. See you then!